Tax reform, the best and worst diets of 2019, and the future of Herriman City. I'm Cameron Porter, owner of Robin Hood Studios, and this is Venture Utah. We've got a fantastic lineup of guests today for you, including the legendary Josh Carrion with Legacy Roofing, Marcos Rodas with TRU Play LLC, and our good friend Joe Rangel with To Evolve Coaching and Consulting. We will also be having a special guest today to talk about the Utah 2019 Tax Referendum. But first, we want to cover a few news stories of interest to all of you. For residents of Herriman, the name Olympia Hills may mean something to you. Well, the developers are back and making a new and improved pitch for their plans to build about 6,300 units on over 900 acres on some undeveloped land in the southwestern portion of the Salt Lake Valley. There are some important changes to this proposal, however, with a mix of housing types and incorporating commercial spaces, common areas, open space, and a trail system. The developers are pitching the Olympia Hills project as a way to combat the poorly planned communities and the terrible east-west commute that current residents deal with every day. The overall vision behind the community is designing it in such a way that allows people to live in the same area they work, rather than having to commute to a different area. Olympia Hills in its current form is very similar to the Daybreak community, but is hoping to be even a little bit better. Residents of Herriman are concerned about the proposal, but are not necessarily opposed to it as long as their concerns are heard and addressed. If you want to register your opinion on the proposal, make sure to reach out to the Salt Lake County Council and let them know how you feel. Believe it or not, there are ways to know what diets are good and what ones are bad. The U.S. News & World Report's 2020 ranking of best diets compares the many different options out there on a variety of metrics to determine what the best overall diets are, as well as what diets work best for rapid weight loss and other factors. The winner of the overall best diet, which includes maintainability, palatability, balance, family friendliness, and healthfulness, is the Mediterranean diet, which emphasizes plants and fish. Other diets just behind the Mediterranean are the DASH diet, the Flexitarian diet, and the Weight Watchers diet, which has been rebranded as the WW diet, or the WWD. They also evaluated diets that have gotten more attention recently, such as the keto diet. And here's the bad news. The keto diet ranked second to last in an overall comparison, because while the diet has been shown to be effective in rapid short-term weight loss, restricting carbs so much and eating so much meat can be destructive on the cardiovascular system over time. Next, 2/3 of Utahns are opposed to removing the Utah constitutional earmark that all income taxes be used for education. The removal has not yet been voted on, but is expected to be voted on in the regular session that begins January 27th. Tax reform is a big topic here in Utah lately, and there are big changes that may be coming that could drastically affect the way each and every one of us does business. We'll be having a guest on today to talk about what the proposed tax changes are and the referendum effort currently taking place to allow Utah citizens to vote on the changes in November before they go into effect. Alrighty, our first guest today is none other than the legendary Josh Carrion with Legacy Roofing. Josh, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, Cameron.
All right,
for having me.
Yeah, no problem. I'm very excited for this conversation. And the reason why we wanted to have you on is I wanted to talk about your company's success. So periodically, we like to try to have professionals on the show who have been extraordinarily successful, unusually successful in their endeavors, to kind of pick their brains and just let the expert tell us how it's done. So there are some who say your success is tied to your beard. Is that where it comes from?
That's potential. It's been 4 years I've been growing this.
Really?
So, I trim every few months or so, but
Sure.
but yeah.
Looks good. Looks good. So the story of Legacy Roofing. Legacy really has only been around for a couple of years, hasn't it?
Right.
And everybody knows, everybody sees the signs that Legacy's taken over the world. They're everywhere. So how do you go from just barely getting started, probably by yourself, to where you are today?
Well, I had a couple pillars in the business starting. My younger brother Jonah and my older brother Don. Brother-in-law. He's a little older than me.
Okay.
We grew up together pretty much. I mean, he's been around for 20 years, and Jonah, he's been around his whole life. So
sure.
Mostly. No, I'm just kidding. He's such a great character, and Don's so efficient. And so putting it together with these guys,
Gotcha.
it really gave a really solid and stable foundation to be able to grow. And Don does operations, Jonah does customer service, and I do fulfillment and front end sales. And the whole basis of this was formed to be able to take care of people in a way that most construction companies can't or just don't. The basis is that I love men like myself. I love people as myself, but I love God first. And in 2010, Jesus grabbed a hold of my heart and just changed my whole life, changed who I was and how I operate, how I think about people. And it was a life-changing experience to the point that I had to do something different. And so I feel like it's a really neat platform to be able to bring just the message of love to people, because God says He's love. And so if we feel that emotion of love and we share that with others, I believe that's sharing God with others. And so Jonah's on board. Don's a similar mindset, but he's Thai, and so he's the Buddhist thread. And so just the way that we come together and are able to care for people has been it's been amazing, man. We've seen roadblocks taken out of our path, and real just the progression has been so amazing, because we're living in a way to be able to take care of others and show love, and it draws so much attention, so many people.
So how does that affect your day-to-day decision making? Because so just jump in real quick. So that's amazing. It's incredible that you're doing business the way that I think so many people say they do business, or they try to do business, and you're actually doing it from a place of love. Everything comes from that place of love. And so that's the source of my question. So day-to-day decision making, what does that look like?
Well, love is an action. And so if we truly love people, then we act like it. We do things. And so if there's an issue or if there's a problem, which inherently things definitely come up. I mean, we're in construction. Cleanup might get overlooked to a point where we have to go back and do something right. Ridge caps might be a little crooked. Certain things that happen in construction would normally get swept under the rug or put off till later. I feel like if I really love those people and I'm really trying to do the right job, we're going to be there like firemen. If something comes up like that, I'm on the phone with Don, I'm on the phone with Jonah, I'm calling Jen at the office, or Esther, I'm calling my quality team members, Sergio and Angel. I'm on the phone trying to get something done, or there myself. Whoever's closest in region to be able to get there the fastest is who gets there and gets things done. And so if people call in with an issue, or if we know of a problem, as soon as it comes up, I feel that doing the right thing for those people, sharing and showing them love, is getting there so quickly to be able to get things right if they go wrong. But most of the time it goes really smoothly the first time, because people have license to do the right thing. We pay a little more so people can take a little more time to do the right job, and it's not necessarily about rushing to get through a project more quickly. It's about doing it efficiently and doing it quickly, but making sure that you're taking the time to do it right.
Yeah, doing everything right by the customer.
Right.
Everything out of that place of love. Wow, that's awesome. So you mentioned you pay a little bit more. So with the business, the way roofing works, I think a lot of people are unfamiliar with how that industry works. The company that you hire to do your roofing may not actually be the company that puts on the roof.
Oh,
how can you kind of just fill in a lot of some of the gaps there?
Yeah, for sure. Generally in roofing or in construction, you have the company that you hire to do the work, and then they will hire subcontractors or 1099 workers to be able to come in and accomplish the work. And that's a way to be able to get a lot of work done really quickly, but you can't really control the end product as well as you can as if you sit down with an interview and you vet the people that are going to be working for you, and then you put them on your payroll as a W-2 employee. So they're company men, they're company people who are dedicated to the company. And so that's why you'll see people show up in our trucks, using our tools, wearing our clothes and gear, because they're all on our company payroll. They're actually employees of the company versus a subcontractor. And so in construction, when you bring in a subcontractor, they'll bang out the work and they might do great, they might not. But then the company that you hired is the one that's going to come in and fix any problems or make sure that things went right or that they get fixed if there is a problem. On our end, if one of my men goes out on the job and moves a little too quickly and they overlook something, the same man is going to go back and warranty their own work with our help and with our resources. But if I pay them a little bit more as a company man, as an employee of the company, they take pride and ownership in the quality of work that they're putting out. And so we see a lot less of the move fast and get paid and more of the take time and do it right the first time.
Wow. Okay, so that seems huge. And what what made you decide to go that route?
Seeing it done as a 1099 contract. I worked for a different roofing company before, and some were employees and some were subcontractors, some of the installers. And so I was able to see the difference in the mindset in those men and the people accomplishing work. It's a different mindset when they're installing as a company man and as a subcontractor. And so I was able to see the difference in that and really determined that there's a right way to do things and a wrong way to do things. Don't get me wrong, I mean, as a general contractor, we also hire out for other services, so drywall and siding and interiors and things like that. So I'll bring in the most competent companies to be able to do that, but our name is on the line. And so, we have a lot of responsibility in that. But I feel like if I'm running the roofing side of the business, I need to have dedicated roofing employees who are company people who are dedicated to doing the right thing and keeping up the name and helping to share love and show people the right way to do things.
Well, it seems to be working.
It's been great.
So are you thinking of, as you continue to expand and grow, are you going to start adding services and have people on payroll instead of using subcontractors for those services?
We are. This year, I actually have a drywaller. I've got a siding guy. I have soffit, fascia, and gutters that are all in-house now. Our general contractor permit came through, our certification came through in December. And
Congrats.
so, hey, thank you very much. And so 2020, we are also offering additional services to be able to install the same way that we do with roofing, because we still have a quality team that goes and project manages these things as they go on.
Oh, nice. Okay, so those additional services, are they, are those, they kind of have to be bundled with the roof? Like, oh, well, we got to get into the attic, and so we got to put the drywall or something. That's why you need a drywaller, or are these going to be separate projects? They
can be separate projects, but they're kind of born out of the need for redoing the roof or redoing doing a repair on the roof. People will see the drywall bubbling or paint peeling or something like that as an indicator inside that water's penetrating the roof.
Oh.
So we get called and we're looking at the inside of the roof and we'll see, or the inside of the building, and we'll see that there's a problem inside. So we check the attic and we can see that there's a leak coming through, so we can fix the roof, we can repair the insulation and the drywall, we can redo the paint, we can redo everything for them on the inside as well as the outside.
Just all one and done.
Right.
That's awesome. So why did you decide to go that route, if you don't mind me asking?
It kind of made sense and fit together as partner trades. And so, a lot of the time when we take the roof off, we're tearing off shingles and there's siding that's resting on it or stucco that's resting on the shingles. And so there are side trades that get affected when you're doing the roof. And so if you can accomplish those side trades and fix those things that are attached to the roof, that's really important to be able to put the whole system back together the way it's supposed to be put back together. So we had enough jobs go kind of sideways where we were pulling things apart and just siding got destroyed or something like that. So I would have to bring other companies in to be able to fix these things. And we had to do it enough, or inside calls. We'd get enough of these calls that it just made sense to start putting people on the payroll, bringing them in to be able to accomplish it to the same quality that I would expect from my roofers.
That's awesome. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to talk with me about this today, and I've been an admirer of yours for a while, and so it's great to have a chance to sit down and pick your brain. For people who want to get in touch with Legacy Roofing or yourself, is there a preferred number, just the company number? Or?
Sure. The main line to the office is the best and most efficient to call and get an appointment. It's 801-837-8182.
Okay.
Sometimes people will call me and I get tied up, and so I'll take a couple hours to get back, but if they call the office, we're right on point.
Okay, well, I appreciate it so much, Josh. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Cameron.
Have a good day. Our next guest is Joe Rangel with 2 Evolve Coaching and Consulting, a longtime friend of the show, but he's been a bit of a stranger lately, and we're going to find out one reason why. But our main topic of conversation is going to be about forgiveness, what it is, what it means, and how you can get there. So, Joe, thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Cameron. I missed you guys.
I know. It's been a while since we've had a chance to sit down and chat.
Yeah, but you've been in the capable hands of Scott McKinley, and he's been doing great, I hear.
He has. He's been doing phenomenally well.
Enjoying watching him and listening to him. So.
And you just had a relatively big change in your life.
A little big change, yes. I had a new baby girl on my wife had a new baby girl on December 20th, and I was there to observe. Yeah, she's been a beautiful addition. Eleanor Oriah Rangel.
Oriah?
Oriah, yeah.
That's interesting. Where does that come from?
So my wife was looking up words and phrases, and I think it started off with, honestly, something from Game of Thrones area, then went to Oriah, and then went to a deviation from that, and ended up being pretty cool. I'm trying to remember the name meaning. I think Eleanor means like something like voice of God or something like that, and then Oriah means something like beautiful voice, or I could have gotten them backwards, but we didn't know that actually when we named her that, and it was kind of cool that those went together. But she's been wonderful, although a little bit of a disruption in sleep patterns. So if I fall asleep on you today, forgive me, just nudge me a little bit.
I'll just kick you from across the table.
Yeah. So forgiveness.
Well, yes, congratulations.
Thank
Congratulations
you.
on that. And yeah, our topic for today, how would you define forgiveness?
So I think when we look at the standard way that we look at forgiveness here on earth, I think it usually is a way of us kind of releasing somebody else for wronging us. So to me, just in my studies, and this is just a perception or an opinion, it means that we're good enough to forgive somebody else for a wrong that they did us. To me, what I focus on and practice on at a higher level is to get to a place where we realize that nothing happens on accident anyway. So if we forgive somebody, it's really an act more of kindness instead of release, in the true way of looking at it. It's not easy to do, and I won't tell you that I practice it perfectly all the time. I still get aggravated at people. I work very diligently, though, at not holding grudges, and that's what I teach, is to understand we don't have a place to really judge people here. There's, to me, and again, an opinion, but we only have one true judge at the end of our days, and we've all made mistakes. I was just talking to a client yesterday that was really mad at somebody for lying to her. And then I just asked a question back, and I said, have you ever lied? And she said, oh, yeah, many times. And I want to be at this higher level to where I don't hold a grudge against somebody or I don't judge them. But it still happens. So I think what we have to do is work on ourselves so that we can get to a level to where we can interact with people differently, if that makes sense.
Oh, I think it makes 100% sense. And as I've thought about it, because we've been bouncing this topic around for, months now.
Yeah.
And so as I've thought about it myself, I think, okay, so forgiveness, trying to compare the difference between someone who has forgiven and someone who hasn't, and then maybe try to figure out what it means then. And for someone who has gotten their comeuppance, so they did something wrong to you, and then they pay their debt, or they got their comeuppance or whatever, you feel differently about them. And okay, so that you might be able to call that forgiveness or a similar phenomenon to forgiveness, but then, when that comeuppance is never seen or never comes or whatever, how do you feel about it then? And I think that's what forgiveness is choosing to feel towards them as if their debt has been paid. So your anger is released, your grudge is gone, because you are viewing, because whether they actually get a comeuppance doesn't matter. In your mind, it's over. It's over. You view, that doesn't mean you're going to trust them again. And that's not the same thing.
Well, right. I think there's a big difference between forgiving and forgetting. And I think we as humans, we don't forget very often. So forgiving somebody, to me, if you could get to a place of thinking that they really hadn't wronged you. Most people, and this again, I always like to phrase things in my opinion because it doesn't have to be everybody's opinion. But in my opinion, most people don't really go out of their way to wrong somebody else. Most of the time it's usually because they're thinking in their own self-interest or they're just oblivious about how they affect other people. If you can get to that level, then you don't have to be as angry and frustrated, as if you really thought, they really did something wrong to me. And something recently happened. I was in a business exchange and somebody kept misleading me on when something was shipped. And I kept asking, it's en route. And I said, well, give me a tracking number. And they couldn't get me a tracking number. And in the end, it turned out, which I was feeling, that it never had been ordered. The part had never been ordered.
Oh.
And it finally got ordered like 2 days before I talked to somebody at a higher level in the company. And I thought, well, why couldn't you guys just say that something just happened? Now, I got annoyed about that. And yet at the same time, I believe that the person that was misleading me was trying to not hurt my feelings. They were trying to kind of cover something up. And I believe when we look at lying, which is a big thing to learn to forgive, lying is usually done for two reasons. It's either done to protect the person that's doing the lying or it's to protect somebody else. That's, if you look at everybody that lies about something, it's usually one of those two things. So to me, I teach something very simplistic, which is learning the chorus to the most famous movie here recently, Frozen, Let It Go. Get to a place where we can ride that higher ground and just let those things go. Because most of the time, if somebody's wronged you, they're not sitting around thinking about, ooh, I wronged that person, ooh, I wronged them. They're going about their business, right? Yeah. And if we hang on to things, we're doing ourselves and the people around us more damage than we are that person that we're irritated about. And so if we can learn to just rise above that and let that go and realize that there's some reason, like I don't know if you can think back in your life where something didn't happen the way you wanted it to and then it turned out much better than it would have if it would have happened the way you wanted it to originally. If we can start to remember that, then we can realize that there's a purpose and reason for everything that happens.
That's definitely happened. That's actually why we're in the space that we're currently in. So we were looking at two spaces, one in Bountiful, one here. And the one in Bountiful was very different, and the one here was this one. And, I made the choice that I wanted to go for the one in Bountiful for one simple reason. It had a window in one of the offices. I was like, I really want a window. I haven't had a window in years. I want a window. And so that was what I made my decision based off of. And someone else came in and locked it down right before I got to it. And so I was stuck with this one. But this one ended up being so much better because we were able to set up a full good-sized studio that we're filming in right now, and we still have space for our office, for our desks, and for a little bit of expansion. And the landlord is just phenomenal. I've never had such a responsive landlord. It's just a great space. And so just like that. So looking at forgiveness, kind of understanding what it is, why then is it so much more difficult to forgive ourselves?
Well, I think it's for the same reason. I think we hold grudges. We could get very spiritual here, and I believe in the process of repentance, which is a changing or turning of the heart, but it's a sincere turnabout. If you're sincerely going and asking the Lord for forgiveness, and I know some people out here are not churchy, some people are spiritual, but you can believe in a higher power, a good power. If we believe in that, and we believe that that being is ubiquitous, is part of everything that is, then in the moment that we're repentant or we're truly sorrowful for what we've done, it's immediately done. But we somehow think we know better than the being that we think created us. And so then I think we tend on holding things because we're human. We're going through a human existence. Sometimes I think we know better than the power or being that created us, and so we continue to hold a grudge and think that's the way things are supposed to go when we've been forgiven long ago. That's an opinion, and we could get really theological and philosophical here, but I think that's it. We're just human beings. We're working our way back through a process of living. The process of being a human is a process of struggling for perfection, not realizing that we're already perfect beings, and then kind of remembering things along the way so we can get back home.
So what would you say is the difference between not forgiving yourself and just learning from your mistakes?
So I think learning is a positive benefit from past experiences, and begrudging yourself is almost like a reliving of something. So if you think about being in the present moment, which is the only time that we can actually take action in, that's in the now, then the only time that we can correct anything in is in the present. You can't change the past. It's happened. It'd be great if we could go back in time. Maybe we'll figure that out here someday, but right now we can't go back and reverse things. So the best thing you can do to be in the present moment is to learn from that experience, which is positive, and learning takes place in the present moment. Whereas when you begrudge yourself something or you keep beating yourself up over something, you're constantly taking yourself back into a past moment, trying to go back and correct something that's not correctable. Does that make sense? You can't change it.
Or punishing yourself.
And what good does that do? It doesn't do you any good. In my opinion, we have choices all the time, every day. We have good choices and we have not so good choices. I think the good choices come from a great influence, a higher power. I think the bad ones come from a negative influence. If we can constantly be focusing on these better choices, then we can live in that space of constant forgiveness, constant grace, and maybe that ties into that too, is, gratitude, grace, instead of looking at things that we want to have, going back to being thankful for what we do have, and even being thankful for, the adversities that come our way in life. I think you've called my voicemail at least once, most of the time.
Yeah.
But there's on my message, if anybody wants to call it, it's 801-850-2974. If you want to call it, my message says to think about the blessings that you have in your life, but also be thankful for those moments of adversity. Because those moments of adversity help define us and help kind of mold us into the person that we're going to eventually become.
So I have one last question, then we got to wrap up. The difference, forgiveness or having forgived or having not forgived. What are the differences in the actions? You mentioned, the type of person you become. We are our actions in a lot of ways. We are what we do. So how do the actions of a person who has forgived differ from the actions of someone who has not forgived?
So I think that the person that's in a forgiveness state of mind, that's constantly in that space, they're riding kind of in a higher level. You'll start to notice people that don't hold grudges, they don't hold things against you. It's not that they necessarily think that what you did was right or wrong. It's just they realize that everybody makes mistakes. We all do. Everybody does. And if we can all start to live that way, if we can all start to live in that space of grace or forgiveness, then we don't have to have animosity and frustration, towards each other. I think that's the big difference. If you had let's say in this room, if we came in this room and there was somebody that had offended you and I chose to rise above it and you chose to hang on to it, who's going to be the most awkward when they're talking to that person? It's better to just live and learn and let things go. Again, I don't think we can always forget, and maybe we shouldn't. There are massive things in history that we should never forget that have happened, so that hopefully they won't happen again. And I think that that's part of being human and learning. But the forgiveness part means I can let go. I can let it go. I can rise above it. I can live on a higher level. And I can, we've heard the old cliche phrase, be the better person. I think we can learn to do that over time. Takes practice, though.
Maybe just a little bit.
A little bit of practice.
All right. Well, that's all the time we've got for today, but I really appreciate you coming and talking about that. That was a good conversation for me to have.
Thank you.
Good timing on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
Yep. All right. And our third and final guest for today is none other than Marcos Rodas from TRU Play LLC. He's going to talk to us a little bit about what his business is and how you can utilize it. So, Marcos, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me, Cameron.
Did I pronounce your name correctly?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Marcos.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Well, I was more worried about the TRU Play. Did I? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, what is TRU Play?
So, my wife and I started TRU Play. We've been open a month now, so we're new, we're fresh, and all we are is a children's indoor playground. So we have 6,000 square feet, and we're located in Layton. Yeah, it's quite a little bit of an area, but so all we are is a children's indoor playground. So where parents, grandparents, siblings, aunts, uncles, anybody can come in with their children and just let them roam free and go through all our little stations that we have and just run around, and that's it. So
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so how are you different from things like the Treehouse Museum in Ogden, Sequest, the aquarium, and that?
Yeah, so that's a great question, actually, because most people here in Utah have not really heard of the indoor playground concept. So we came in here and we started it, and it's just like you said, people are trying to make that, how are they different? So the biggest way that we're different is that we only focus on children that are 6 and under. So everybody that comes in can bring in all of their children that are 6 years and under. So we have everything that we have set up in the playground is specific to that age. So it's very intimate, it's very organic, it's really homey. We just have kind of, good vibe music playing, Disney music and stuff like that. So any mothers or family can come in with their children and not have to worry about older children or things that are dangerous. Everything is specifically safe and designed for that age group. So we have, in addition to our playground, we also have a kitchen that is specific for any food that you would like to bring in that our clients can bring in. They can bring literally anything, and it's just specific to our kitchen. So we have a microwave, we have a sink, we have the entire picnic area for them to be able to bring snacks, bring treats, lunch, dinner, anything like that. And then we do have a private mother's room with a private bathroom. So we have changing tables, we have diaper dispensers, we have couch sitting areas, and everything that you basically need to be able to just let your little ones kind of just play around and just enjoy themselves. And that's basically it. So we have, and then the last thing we have is we do have an event room.
Oh, okay.
So we have a party, birthday party room or events can be held in our private room there. And all of it together is the kind of the recipe, right, of the indoor playground. So it's new, it's something that's different. It's going to get, I think, it's going to take some time for it to, for everybody to get used to. But we're excited for it. We're excited to bring, that new and different feel, especially to Davis County, because it's where I grew up. So
that's awesome. So it sounds like you've really designed it for families to be able to be there for a while.
Yep. Yeah. So our day pass is our most common. Our day pass is come and go as you please. So it's $10 for a day pass for the first child, and then any additional sibling or any additional child is $8. And that's come and go as you please. So we see a lot of moms, they come in the morning, they let their kids play for about an hour, they'll go home, then they come again in the afternoon or in the evening, and you just come in because you already bought the day pass, and you can come and go. You can bring food, so people will leave, go get food, come back, and keep playing, and so that's it.
Awesome. So is it designed more for the parents to play with the children or for the children to play on their own?
We've seen both. I mean, honestly, it is for both because we have a ton of couches and we have a lot of benches. So we've seen, there's some grandparents that came in the other day, and the grandfather actually took a nap on the couch. and then the grandma was kind of running around with the little 3-year-old that they brought in. So it's just to come and hang out, and then we see a lot of moms, they love to follow around their kids and take a lot of pictures, so we have everything for everybody to just be able to enjoy your time with your children. So
that's really cool.
Yeah.
So how did you come up with this idea?
So this particular business model or idea was a combination of my wife and I really making our own thing, doing our own thing from other businesses that actually exist in California, Arizona, Washington, New York has a few. So these playground businesses exist, and then my wife wanted to, kind of add her own, little things here and there, events and things like that. So we had Santa, and we're going to be able to, every holiday we want to be able to do our own twist, with that. So we see this business model. Actually, we see it blowing up, in the next maybe 2 to 5 years all across the country, because I feel like our generation really wants, that less screen time, maybe more organic, more intimate, time with your children, especially at that age. So my wife and I actually saw, a lot of these businesses in California, Arizona kind of pop up. And we said, well, why not, in my hometown in Utah, right? And so we brought it here. The feedback has been phenomenal. Everybody loves it. So we're just hoping that we can continue the level of service that, that we're giving throughout the time that we, how long we can. So it's especially exciting for my wife because we have 3 children, and she can take them in there and, and have fun with our kids there.
Do they get half off?
They get, for now, they get free. But our son, he's older, so he puts in some work. He helps me. He helps me do some cleaning. We have to keep up on cleaning. We want to be able to make sure that everything is on point with cleaning, sanitation, all the bathrooms, all the toys, everything has to be, cleaned every day. So that's the number one goal for us, is that we want to make sure that we have everything for anybody that comes in. They feel comfortable and clean to be able to play with everything. So, yeah.
Where are you located?
So we are in Layton, right across from Smith's in Layton, next to Cal Ranch. There used to be a Crossroads Fitness gym. We're kind of right on that strip right there. And like I said, so we've only been there for a month. I'd love to be able to come back on maybe 6 months from now and kind of see like how things go. But we're fresh, we're new, and especially the fact that my wife and I, like I was mentioning, it's our first business, so we're excited, but we're also, nervous and scared and trying. We appreciate every positive feedback. Everybody that's come in has been so nice to us, and they have really just praised the idea. They love it. They love how there's no screens. They love how, children can just organically play, and they're safe. And so it's been fantastic. We've met a lot of people already just in 1 month that, have become good friends with my wife and I. So it is exciting, and we'll see, how it goes from here.
Okay, so this is actually really, really, really cool that you're doing this. So as far as kind of the nuts and bolts, what about a child in the arms, like a 6-month-old, that's not really going to play with anything?
Yeah. So we actually start charging from 9 months to 6 years. So any child under, any infant under 9 months is just free. And so we feel like that's the age group that, we want to focus on, because we wanted to keep it that, that intimate, that organic age. I grew up here, so I tell everybody, when I was 8 years old, 9 years old, there's so much to do. There's literally like a dozen things that you can do all the time, but at that younger age, to be able to have a parent go in with their child or children at that younger age and just be able to feel free and safe in that entire area. They don't have to worry about, those older children running around or anything like that. So that's what we wanted to keep the focus on. So
that's awesome. So hours of operation, what time do you open? What time do you close?
So we actually, the only day we're closed is Sunday. So we count Monday as a weekend. So our weekends we're open later, which is Friday, Saturday, and then Monday.
Oh, okay.
And we're open until 8. So that's 9 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Nice.
And then our weekdays we count as Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and we just close at 6.
Okay.
And then we have discounts, like Monday night is family night, so you can get in for a discount there. We have like date nights, we have grandparents night, so all of these discounts, you don't always have to just go in and pay for a full day pass. You can just go in for a couple of hours and just come in at a discount price.
Nice.
We also have punch passes available. We have monthly memberships available. So there's a ton of ways that that you can come in and just have fun and enjoy without having to always just come in and pay the full day pass. So.
Gotcha. Well, that's super awesome.
Yep.
That's really exciting.
Yeah, no, thank you.
The address.
So we're on 70 South Fairfield Road.
Okay.
So it's literally right across from Smith's and Layton. That lot has been empty for, not empty, but it's been vacant. A few spots have been vacant for a few years, but we are seeing, more activity there. There's more lots that are filling in. So we want to see that parking lot full. Because it's a huge lot.
Yeah.
And we want to be able to see it full so that, a bunch of people can come. There's a restaurant there, there's a nail salon next to us, and then we're there. So the more people that come in, the better traffic we'd be able to see, more families. And so,
Well, that's very exciting. So if people want to reach out and find out more about the facility, what's the best way to do so?
So the best way is through our social media. That has been through our Facebook and our Instagram. So our website has all of that. Our website is TRU Play Experience, and then TRU is TRU, and then playexperience.com. And then on Facebook and on Instagram, we are at TRU Play UT.
At TRU Play UT. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here, Marcos. This has been awesome.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right, our next guest is Marci Campbell with the Utah 2019 Tax Referendum Coalition. She is the South Davis coordinator, and she's going to explain what the tax reform is on a high level, and also what the referendum is about, so that we can all understand. This is a very important topic for all of us to understand. No matter what type of business you operate, this could affect you. So, Marci, thank you for being here.
Fantastic introduction, because the reality is it is going to affect a lot of people, everybody in the state of Utah. The tax reform bill that was put into law through the special legislative session right before Christmas, so it's kind of slid in there when we maybe weren't paying attention, is 200 pages long. So this is what a referendum packet looks like.
Gotcha.
As part of the referendum, by law, we have to print off for every single packet the law. So that's the full 200 pages. And it's a very complicated tax law. So it's been a remarkable process to see all of the people who did pay attention throughout the entire state of Utah that are coming together in a very grassroots effort, something that I've never personally witnessed before, such a remarkable grassroots effort to do what almost seems like an unattainable task, but I think we might attain it. So it's been amazing. We have to get, at the very minimum, 116,000 signatures throughout the state of Utah. There has to be a certain percentage of certain percentage of signatures per how many people voted in that county, from 15 counties out of the 29 counties. So there are very specific requirements that have to be met, but the overall total has to be at least 116 verifiable signatures. Verifiable meaning active registered voters in the state of Utah. So we're shooting for at least 200,000, if not more, to be able to send a message to the legislature that we are paying attention. We're paying attention to what it is that they want to do with the money that they receive from us. So you're probably wondering, how does this affect businesses? What is in the law? Well, in 10 minutes, I probably can't go into detail on all of the things of such a complicated tax law. But I can tell you what people are saying to me and what I know that people feel that's going to affect them in their every single day life here in the state of Utah. Because I've been training, my job is to train as many people as I can to get a packet into the hands of the people for them to go out and get 49 signatures. So I've been training all kinds of people throughout the state, really, from all socioeconomic positions, all kinds of jobs, business owners, wealthy, the poor, all ages, which has been wonderful to see so much action from all ages, from 90-year-olds to people who are 18, want to be involved in the process. And it's really touched me to see so much unity throughout the state of Utah. Really, I've been training Democrats, Republicans, I trained the past president of the Libertarian Party. He came in to take a packet. Independents, all coming together, setting other differences aside to come together to work on this referendum, because we have to get it done in about a 3-week time period from when we first started. The person who put the referendum together initially, the name on it, there was a few people that helped him, but it was a past legislator named Fred Cox. Thankfully, he knew the process of referendum, so he could get it done in time and properly. And so the thing that's remarkable is social media. As you know, social media is a great tool, and they put out a page on Facebook. And at this point, we have about 20,000 people on that Facebook page.
Wow.
Coming to join, to check, to see where events are, to find out more about the law. And within a week, he was able to not only get enough people to join the Facebook page to find out about it, but also with $5 and $10 donations, get enough money to pay the printer for the first original set of packets that had to go out. And
I mean, each of those packets probably costs a little bit of money.
Between $5 and $7, I think, is what I've been told.
For
each packet, because the rule is, it's very old school, that the whole law has to be printed off. Every signature has to be done in writing with a trained witness. So the task is very large, where we have to train the witnesses. It doesn't take that long to train the witnesses, and we've also put out a YouTube video to help with the process. It's a 6-minute YouTube video for witness training, so that people can be trained and get it out to their family and their friends. And the thing that's amazing is today there's published 52 events across the state of Utah. That's how fast it's growing and exploding. The task, though, is large. We have to have all of these signatures into the county clerk's office by January 21st. So still quite a large process that we need to do.
If we can take a quick step back
Yes.
And focus on, the tax law that was passed.
Yes.
Very complicated, very long bill.
Correct.
That made a lot of changes. If I'm remembering correctly,
Yes,
made
it does.
very sweeping changes. A few things that I remember. Well, the main thing that I remember is the introduction of sales tax to many service-based businesses.
Yes.
Which, as you and I know, many of those service-based businesses are solopreneurs. They don't even have a bookkeeper, let alone an administrative department, or the ability to implement automated systems that can take out the tax for them. These are individuals that are going to have to calculate and have the burden of that sales tax completely on their own, which causes a lot of problems. And I know that there was a lot of changes as well with the way that taxes can be used at the state level. And that was passed. But the referendum, what exactly is a referendum? Is this a citizen's veto?
So it is not a citizen's veto per se. What the referendum allows is it stays the law, meaning it will stop it for a minute and give us the opportunity to vote on it in November.
Okay.
So it gives the public an opportunity to look over the complicated law and then say yes or no themselves. So it gives us the opportunity to vote on it in November.
Okay, so that's really all it is. So even if you're in favor of the law, as long as you're also in favor of citizens having a voice
Correct.
in the process, the referendum would be something you would want to sign.
For you, correct, yes.
Okay.
And I can give you feedback on the main things that the public is giving me and others in the process. And because, of course, they're coming from all different backgrounds. So why is it, I always ask, why is it that you care? What is it that you're coming to this for? Or they're happy to share. Most people are happy to share. I would say by and large, most people have a very visceral negative reaction to the food tax.
Oh, yeah.
Where the food tax is going to be a remarkable change for the majority of Utahns. Some people, it may not affect their pocketbooks, but the middle class and the poorer among us is going to affect at a pretty strong point. So whether there's a moral reaction to we should not be taxing people when they just need to eat, it doesn't work. And I know the legislature attempted to come up with a way to maybe make that sound a little bit better by giving a tax rebate at the end of the year for people from $125 per person to $200. Unfortunately, what I feel personally is that they're not aware of what it means to be really poor, which is many of the poor don't file tax returns. They don't know how to file tax returns. They wouldn't even be capable or knowing how to come up with filling out the right form to get a rebate, let alone the reality is every single day they need to eat. They're not worried about the rebate at the end of the year to try to balance it out. They need, how do I feed my family today? So I think that is probably the number one reason that most people are coming out is they are very much against the tax on food.
and I may be incorrect, and if I am, hopefully you can correct me, but I saw that if you count all of the new methods of taxation, a trip to the store to buy groceries would cost 177% more after this passes than it does currently. And I think the way they did that was they included maybe like the fuel tax.
Some of the fuel tax, correct.
They added like the fuel tax of driving to the grocery store, and then some of the food tax as well. Does that sound right? Is that?
So I have also heard that statistic. In my opinion, I think we can manipulate numbers sometimes, so I hate to throw that one out myself. But I do think it's important for the public to be aware that food prices will go up because it costs money to bring the food to the stores because of the fuel tax increase. So that right there, the food tax will go up there. And then you add the tax on top of it for the food is going to go up quite a bit. So some estimates have been that 177%.
Gotcha.
But I think generally speaking, we just need to pay attention. It's going to cost everybody more at the grocery store.
That's huge, and that's not just for business owners, that's for everybody.
That is for everybody, correct. But if you want to go back to the service tax, the reason that I got involved in this to begin with is I belong to a networking collaboration business entity called Believe.
Okay.
It has an advocacy sector. In the advocacy sector for 2019, we wanted to educate the public about the introduction of what service tax would look like for the state of Utah. We put together a parody short video. It's less than 2 minutes long, kind of to educate the public, trying in a humorous way so that people would pay attention on social media about what service tax would look like in the state of Utah. So people can find that on YouTube, or YouTube's probably the easiest way. Just type in service tax in Utah and this parody will show up. And because we agree that as business owners, especially in the state of Utah where so much of Utah is small businesses, it's just really the fabric of our society is so many small businesses. So to tax the people who are trying to do what it is kind of that's in our core just for services is going to really change I believe in such a ripple effect the entirety of how we live in the state of Utah if we're going to tax services. So taxing services means that you will now have to collect taxes if you offer services, and like you said, have a CPA or have somebody else help you, then pay the taxes to the government on the taxes that you receive. And the small business owners is going to be a really difficult thing. So I'm also hearing a lot of complaints from people that say it's not fair to pick and choose which ones right now have to collect service taxes, because initially the legislature wanted to do all services, but some of the larger services were able to lobby to not include theirs, and so they kind of whittled away at it. And my personal belief is that because it's been introduced even at the small level, it's going to be much easier to start sliding all of them in. So even if your service didn't get included in this iteration of the law, the next ones you're going to be slid in. And I think not enough emphasis is being put on what is in this law in other media outlets. The fact that they're opening it up for potentials down the road, meaning we may not be aware of it now, but they can just have it be part of our system now because it's in this law. So while it doesn't have a date here that's going to go into effect, it is still in the law, which means it can go into effect when they decide.
It's almost like they knew that people weren't going to react very positively to this idea.
What do you think? Maybe you're right. I don't know. Just slide that in right before Christmas.
I've heard tax increases are very unpopular. That's
Correct.
the word on the street.
Right. So just so you know, I'm not against taxes in general personally, but I am for a much simpler approach. I am not for what I call slippery slidey kind of taxes where we make it so complicated that it's difficult to track what anybody's doing with the money, where it's going, how it is, and it just becomes a very complicated system. And accountability and responsibility becomes less a focus of taxation. So I am for a much more simplified version rather than a complicated version.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, that is all the time that we have for this segment, but I think that this was really valuable for every one of our viewers to understand this. If they want to sign or even volunteer to be part of the organization, what is the best way to contact you?
I think the best way to contact is through Facebook because you're social media streaming. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Awesome. So Facebook, it's Utah 2019 Tax Referendum.
Okay.
Utah 2019 Tax Referendum. You will see all the events and you will get to see what the grassroots look like. because it's very evolving and constantly changing. But if you go to the events tab, you can see a lot of the events that are going on every single day across the state.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for being here, Marci.
I appreciate you having us. Thank you so much.
Yes, this was
Good
fantastic.
luck to you.
You
Thanks.
too.